Welcome to the Pelican Briefs podcast, where we talk about fun things in St. Petersburg and the best Gulf Coast beaches in the U.S. But today we're doing a special episode, and that episode is talking about our own aging parents and our own experiences with aging. So, I'm here with Stephanie. Can you introduce yourself, Stephanie?
Hi, this is Stephanie Slavick, and I'm with RE/MAX Action First.
Hi, I'm Denver Goodman. I'm with RE/MAX Action First.
I'm Joe Gierlach. I'm with the Royal Palm team here in St. Pete Beach.
And this is Sue Deasy, also a realtor on the Royal Palm team.
This conversation is really because we all found that we have common experiences taking care of our parents.
I took care of my dad for 10 years along with the rest of my siblings when he had Alzheimer's, so this is a great event to support the cause. Hey, what's that?
This is the Royal Palm fanny pack that I got at Major League Pickleball. This event reminded me that I took care of my dad for the last 3 years of his life, and that everyone in our office has a similar experience taking care of their parents.
We should do a podcast about this.
You've only got 18 birthdays with them, or you've only got 18 Christmases with them, and then they form their own family. They get their own tribe. Once that stage happens and we move forward, and we have to be concerned about our parents, those who took care of us as we were in diapers and growing up through the times, we know there's limited amount of time that we can spend with them. And those years, like you say, it's enjoying the moments. They don't have to be stressful. I mean, it's always going to be stressful as our bodies are slowing down and transitioning, but I think it can be more healthy if we plan ahead.
My father had Alzheimer's for a little bit over 10 years. He was really at a point that he couldn't live on his own anymore. So I am from a big family. I have a brother and 4 sisters, so there's 6 of us. And so what we did, and we're all over the country, by the way, and so we shared the care for my dad, which was awesome because, number one, we would travel to different cities around the country. I have a sister in Arizona and Florida, Pennsylvania, and we would each have our 2 months. And to this day, we have so many good dad stories about our care. And we also leaned on each other because it's very trying and you had to be very patient. And so we would help each other out to be more patient. Our dad got to know so many of our friends in different parts of the country. So Alzheimer's is, just something that's near and dear to me, and just caring for the elderly, because bottom line is you live for the moments if you have Alzheimer's. And my dad had a whole lot of joy in the last 10 years. So, we have great memories as a family.
That's kind of interesting. Your father only lived in the moment after he got Alzheimer's. Is that right?
So there were days when he was better than others, but toward the end, that was kind of our goal, is that we were entertaining him for the moment. Exactly. So, it was awesome.
Shouldn't it be our goal to live in the moment?
Absolutely.
And sometimes we don't remember that we should be living in the moment. When I was taking care of my father in his last years, he taught me to live in the moment because that's where he was in life.
Yeah, it's a good lesson. I mean, believe me, it was awesome learning moments while we cared for him.
So I just recently asked my mom if she wanted to enjoy condo living or look into it. And I think the condo I'm talking about. So I literally purchased it with my mom. In the event that something happens, it wouldn't have to be scramble because it's just me. So She would be living with me full time. I'm not really sure if that would work. I'm not sure if she would be happy with that. I'm not sure how that would work for me, but I thought something close by, something with an elevator, with a beautiful community of 55 plus people, something I could reach her within 30 minutes of time might work. Right. So we made that venture there. She's not ready to go there, and neither is my stepdad. But I think just that whole process of thinking about it.
Good planning ahead, because you just don't know.
Right.
You truly don't know. I think a lot of people have this idea, this vision in their mind of how their life is going to go, what it's going to look like and everything, and it may not go as planned.
She was fishing at my place, so I had the opportunity to meet her. But she fell when she was back home. We're not really sure where she lives. And when she fell, I was on the phone call with Denver, and Denver got the notice that she fell and was like, I got to take this call right away. So it somehow beeped into her. And so I thought, my God, we really are kind of like a lifeline to, not only growing children, but to aging parents. And this is something that I'm seeing among my friends, among my peers, here in the office. Like, we've all got our experiences. I can tell you, I knew when my mom and I decided to go in on that condo together, I thought for sure something would happen. I was bracing. I mean, my parents are in their 80s. But I think what really happened was that my mom said, we're not ready to go. And we might not be ready for a long time, and we might not like condo living. So here I tried to plan ahead, and they're really not interested in relocating from their little 4-acre parcel where they grow their own vegetables. And, but I'm preparing more for me, because how am I going to be able to, on a phone call's notice, be able to change my life? So we're kind of at this transition of going, well, it's not something that we need to do today, but should we keep the condo? Should we sell it? Should we hold the money in a bond and get ready to buy something later? And I'm seeing those questions coming up throughout our careers as well. I just think it's different that our culture, here in the West or here in the US or North America, seems to be so different than other cultures where the parents, as they age, they move in with the family. They kind of come together. We don't see that as much. Like, we're so, we've got these independent living centers that are of varying grades of care, but we're willing to take that leap because we almost aren't ready or geared or trained, or it's not put in our system that we would actually take these people, our parents who've cared for us, who changed our diapers, back into our homes where we came from. So I think it's really beautiful that your family came together and said, hey, we'll divide the time. There are 6 of us. Everybody gets dad for 2 months out of the year. We're going to make this such a winnable opportunity where we get to visit each other, be in the moment more, accept the things that we can't change, and kind of journey through it.
We were very fortunate in that almost all the years that we had my dad, he was very mobile, and we could travel with him. And there are some cases of very advanced Alzheimer's where it's a lot tougher to do that. But in my dad's case, that worked out so perfectly that he could stay with us. And he could still do steps for the siblings that had stairs. It worked out very, very well that we lived like you see a lot in Europe where the parents move in. Yeah. He was just so comfortable with all of us. And even though he didn't remember our names, once in a while he thought I was his wife, which was a little bit scary. That happened to my other sisters too. But for the most part, he recognized all of us, and he knew that we were all part of his family. My dad would not have been able to survive on his own. While my mom was still alive and in the hospital before she passed, he was driving back and forth from where he lived to the hospital. He got lost several times. So we knew that he wasn't going to be able to be on his own for much longer.
What process do we have set up for that? What communication, going back to your situation, how beautiful that you guys came together, you know what I mean? And even Denver's situation that she has, having cared for an in-law, and even her situation now with her mom, being so connected that if somebody falls, she actually gets a trigger, gets a message, don't you?
Yes,
yes. Got that now.
So through the iPhone, I think about my mother-in-law, and I took care of her for over a decade. And it started out very simply. She lived alone in California when Bill and I got married. And eventually she moved across the country to Florida. And we were living at that point couple decades ago out in New Mexico. And eventually she got to the point she needed a little more help, so we moved her to New Mexico. Bill drove across country in a U-Haul, picked her up and brought her back. And she didn't want to live with anybody. She wanted to live in her own place independently, so we were able to find the perfect place for her that was about 20 minutes away from us. The cool thing was she was able to be there about 10 years. I just had to help her with going to doctor's appointments and things like that, but for the most part was independent. And over time, you could see things changing. And she was very adamant that she was always going to live alone. And she did not want other people's assistance other than the little bit that she would let me help, right? Going to doctor's appointments and maybe some other things that came up. And through that, she started to develop dementia. And one day we got the phone call of, hey, your mom's been driving around for 2 hours in a circle. And it was pretty devastating because we could see it coming on, but you couldn't tell how bad it is. You typically, find out, a lot of people will find out that their parents have developed dementia because they get lost, they end up in different places. And that was the traditional route she took, was 2 hours of driving in a circle.
Somebody told you that she was driving around in circles. Did somebody watch it physically, or how were you notified that she was driving around in circles in the first place?
The neighbors saw her driving around and they tried to flag her down, and they, really tried to, get her attention and just make it known that she needed to stop. But she was so upset and so distraught, she just kept going. And I think she was also embarrassed. Like, she was with it enough to know that she was lost and she shouldn't be lost, but she couldn't figure out what to do next. And I don't think she was about to stop and ask for help, because it's embarrassing to know that you're becoming forgetful. And at that state, that's got to be the hardest stage, to know something's not right and then know you need to do something about it. But knowing if you do something about it and admit it, your life is going to change. And she had it within her enough to know that the second she did that and acknowledged that her life was going to change and she'd have to move. So I sped across town. It took me with traffic about 20 minutes to get there, and she was still driving in circles. 2 hours, I show up, I talk with her. She's obviously distraught, upset, and I talk with her and get her inside and reorient her to what's going on and everything. And we realized this is it. She's got to move. And the question is, hey, do you want to come live with us? And I was like, no, I don't want to live with my kids. No. And we were like, what do we
German?
She was. She was, absolutely. She immigrated over from Germany. So she just did not want to move in with us. And we were okay with that. I mean, we didn't really want her living with us either, but we had to find a solution. And just down the road, a block away, there was a senior living community.
Oh, wow.
And we moved her into this community. I wish I could tell you it was like the Cinderella story and happily ever after. I'll never forget. We came to her door and she was so angry. And angry is a nice word. That we had moved her into this community to live. That we knocked on the door. She opened the door. She saw it was me. She closed the door.
Of course.
She opened back up the door. And next thing you know, it's bap, 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 bap. She's throwing shoes at me. She is so mad. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So she shuts the door. I'm like, I'm out of here. I leave. I'm not sure what to do at this point. So we just kind of let her calm down and everything and go over there later. And with the help of some doctor's interventions, we were able to get her through the anger and thing.
But it's got to feel like an incredible betrayal.
It was
what I mean?
for her. It was.
Let me get.
Not only are they taken out of the comfort of their own home, but they're put in a strange environment and they can't comprehend it fully because their faculties are starting to fade. It's just tough. I think we need to have more conversations in our country around that. And I'd love to explore that with you. Like, did you guys have a realtor help you with that process? Did you just happen to drive by it and you were lucky enough that you found it? I mean, that's kind of like, really, is that the way we're going to do this? Yeah. So even the situation with my mom, she's now reconsidering that she wants to live in a condo because she's got her own space. She's got the home that all of her children were raised in. And now all of a sudden I'm proposing this free living condo that has reasonable monthly condo fees. And she went to one of the meetings and they were pretty rules oriented like most condos are, and they were explaining that some people were hanging their bathing suits out on the balcony to dry, and that was a big no-no. My mom's basically like, you can go ahead and sell it. We attended one of the board meetings and we're not into an association that won't let me hang my laundry out on the balcony or paint the front door any color that I want. And so it probably won't work, that whole concept of of having your own independence, raising your children, making the decisions you've made, and now all of a sudden somebody's going to be making decisions for you. And this is a condo. This is her going to a condo living that's really 55 plus with no extra care. So she's basically said, you can sell it because I'm not going to move in there. We're going to stay here. And I said, well, what happens, Mom, when you get older? And she goes, well, we'll figure that out when we get there.
Didn't you get a notification on your phone? Like, do you have software that you use to track her? And like, how does that work?
She's gotten older. Her balance has gotten worse. She's had some changes in blood pressure where she can suddenly get dizzy. And when she has those blood pressure drops, we think that's what's leading to her falls. So for Christmas, we got her an iWatch and then set it up so that
An Apple Watch.
Apple Watch. Mm-hmm. What'd I call it?
An iWatch.
iWatch, yeah. iPhone, iWatch.
I watch you. I like iWatch. I think that's really kind of cool that you came up with using something as common as an Apple Watch to serve the purpose of watching and taking care of your mom, being in close touch when you live in different states. I think that's fabulous. So you bought the Apple Watch for her for Christmas?
Yeah, so it was a group gift from my sister and her husband and then Bill and I to give this gift so that way we would be notified in case she fell and couldn't help herself. And sure enough, she was at work. She was on a 3-foot platform at work and took a step backwards and hit full force on the ground, smacked her head.
And that's when you got beeped when we were on that phone call.
That's when we got the alert when we were talking. Yep.
Wow.
And it let us know that she had fallen. And then we were able, because we share locations through our Apple iPhones, we knew she was at work and were able to get her help. And then she was taken away to, go get evaluated and everything. But boy, she tough to make that big of a fall. And
yeah, but I think that's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
People don't realize how much technology is evolving and how we can tie the different pieces together to really create something that increases the safety, not just for our parents who are aging, but even our children and ourselves. I don't know how many times you guys have heard of like people disappearing, they're out driving and all of a sudden they're gone and people can't find them, and come to find out they've had a diabetic event. Their blood sugars have gone low, they've passed out at the wheel, they go off in the woods, people can't find them. And now the technology is such that family members or friends can get alerts that, hey, their blood sugar's too low and can get hold of them because they may not notice what's happening. And then let's say they don't respond, then you're using the phones and everything to be able to locate them to get help there sooner. Whereas before, when people had these emergencies, you couldn't find them. I mean, right. it was truly just helicopters, dogs, driving, luck of the draw.
Good point.
I think that as much as many people are intimidated by technology, if we're smart about it, you can bring it in and use it in ways that we might be able to come up with ways to help seniors and adults live longer independently or feel as though they have that independence when really there's like eyes kind of helping them and assisting them in a way.
I love it.
They forget things, but they remember emotions. So they're hurt. They hurt, even though they don't know why they're hurting. So if we can help them along with the technology and remind them of things, it's really going to help them, to be better, happier people into later in their life.
I think one of the important things that ties into it, and I know from this recent COVID scare that we all had, my parents were here, they're snowbirds, so they were in their home in Gulfport. I was living in Clearwater. And I think there's this thing that you just keep thinking people are going to keep going on as they've gone on. My parents are both able-bodied, mentally astute, they garden, they don't walk that much, but they're healthy 80-year-olds. When John got COVID and was spiraling downward, nobody really noticed. He started doing a little bit less. Had we not taken the pulse oximeter, I just happened to be in the area and I was going to stop in, and I went to go pull him out of the chair and his hand was freezing. And I go, what's going on? Why is it so cold? We're in Florida. And I ran to the CVS store, got the pulse oximeter, and he was pulse oxing at 82.
Wow.
Called our doctor and she said, get him in the hospital right away. My point on that, he was in the hospital for 47 days. He made it. But my point was, I didn't check in on them because I just assumed that they were still healthy. So I think that was a really kind of strange situation. But I think on a regular basis, we need to keep checking in with them because we can not notice those subtle changes over time. And that was the reminder to me. It was from that event that I was like, oh my gosh, we got to have some planning here in place because things can change quite quickly. And so I think from that, I think that's where this discussion needs to keep happening where, we've launched our children and now we've got to maybe take back our parents.
That's a good point.
Who's ready to get this walk started? Thanks to all of you.
All right. We're doing scary predictions for the holiday season.
My scary prediction, these high interest rates that we're seeing are here to stay, and they're going to continue to climb. And the interest rates that we've seen a few years ago are a thing of the past.
No way. Do you really believe that?
I believe that we might see a very slight dip, but we're not going to be back down in the 3-4% range for any time in the foreseeable future.
I mean, I'm swimming into 2024 as well, and I'm thinking that rates are going to come down a little bit. Really, that's your scary prediction?
The super low rates are gone.
Well, I hope you're wrong, but you could be right. For my scary prediction, as we enter 2024, I don't think those opportunities are going to be there for as many people as they were before with these higher interest rates that you're predicting are going to be the new wave and higher insurance premiums, higher taxes. I think we're basically going to be pushing out the average buyer that was able to afford this part of the country. And I think it's going to kind of be re-gentrified, if that's even a word, so that we're going to see a more affluent buyer and a more affluent, but there's just going to be more affluent people, customers that are going to be here.
Right.
I think we've already seen it in the whole downtown area, how that changed. So I think that's my prediction. Denver, you got some.
My spooky prediction is that we will be constructing a new landscape for the condos. The reason is that the milestone inspections and the reserve studies, buyers are becoming more aware of them and concerned because the stories are starting to come out about the different assessments. I know, Sue, you're living that right now, and people are going to be hesitant and wanting to wait to see what happens with those inspections and studies before they decide to purchase in a particular community. And so since these inspections don't need to be completed necessarily until 2024, we may see slowdowns and price drops. We're already starting to see it, but we may continue to see that, is my prediction.
Yeah, well, that's pretty spooky.
I agree.
In my parents' building, they put theirs up for sale just for the summer. We got one phone call on it, and that's the only one. Like, everybody's watching to see what ours is doing. That scary prediction is probably likely that we're going to see condos take a little bit of a dip, if not a bigger fall.
People are expecting prices to go down, and then they're also waiting for interest rates to go down. So I think people have been waiting. Because interest rates are too high, they're holding off. So there's all this pent-up demand in the market. Then there's going to be this rush back into the market. It's like a rubber band that's been stretched, and now it's going to spring back. All of a sudden, everyone's going to jump into the market, and it's going to flood the market. It's going to shoot prices up higher.
And I think that's a pretty scary prediction.